Students here behind me at the University of Miami School of Law. We're talking here with Professor of Law here, Professor David Rowe, about this issue of the controversy surrounding the extradition request for Christopher Dudus Coke and the possible implications for U.S.-Jamaica relations. This is Direct. We continue our discussion.
Talk to us about what's the worst case scenario? What could the U.S. do to Jamaica?
Oh, there are a lot of things.
The worst case scenario.
I prefer maybe not to talk about the worst case scenario. Let's talk about the current possibilities. I'd always suggested, and I think it is coming to fruition, that there was going to be a visa reaction. This has happened in Guyana, it has happened in Kenya. There's no reason why it's not going to happen in Jamaica. I think that non-immigrant visas will be very seriously affected. We could get to the point where there are no non-immigrant visas at all for a period of time. I'm sure that visa categories such as the student visa, the F1, the religious worker area, the R1, even the A1, I believe that diplomatic visas, I'm sure that the diplomatic visas will be scrutinized and that individuals who are thought to be involved either in cocaine trafficking or to be associated with cocaine trafficking may have their A visas reviewed very, very seriously. And the general and significant area of B visas, visitors visas, I'm sure that the individuals who do not yet have visitors visas will find that it is more difficult to get a visitors visa than it has been in the past. Now, there may be Jamaicans who have been indicted by federal grand juries that are currently sitting, that are looking into these areas and areas that are associated with these areas. We do have evidence of federal grand juries sitting both in Florida and in New York who are looking at issues that are relevant to some of the things that we've discussed here today. And we don't know, because grand juries are secret, we don't know whether individuals will be indicted, but certainly one of the reactions of the United States frequently when the Justice Department has brought back a grand jury indictment against an individual, his visa can be cancelled. So we just have to wait and see. I believe that there will be a United States contingency plan to, if there's any attack on American tourists in Jamaica, I'm sure there's a United States contingency plan to have the tourists evacuated from Jamaica at short notice if any criminal elements decide that as a result of Jamaica's observation of the treaty they're going to try to react against against American tourists. I think that's a very bad mistake that they've been making.
All right, so far
if that were to occur.
Sorry to interject, Professor Rowe. So far we've had one prominent visa cancellation, and you had been on record as suggesting that this most likely was as a result of the U.S. putting pressure on the government to say, we're certainly very displeased about your handling of this Dudus extradition matter. You still believe that? Even
Absolutely.
Though the Prime Minister said in Parliament that he was assured by the U.S. authorities that this had nothing to do with the extradition request?
And I wasn't at the conversation the Prime Minister had.
In Parliament. He said it in Parliament in response to a question.
Again, you know, I have regard for the Prime Minister. I think that it's a very difficult job, and it's his job to characterize and to sometimes, you know, create impressions that are politically palatable for the Jamaican people. But I don't think anybody believes that the major visa that was cancelled, that of Mr. Wayne Chen, has nothing to do with the Dudus matter. I mean, maybe the Prime Minister believes that.
Would he deliberately come out and mislead Parliament about what U.S. authorities told him? And if so, why hasn't the U.S. refuted what he said?
Well, I don't know that the United States has to refute anything that a Jamaican Prime Minister says. It's not the role of the American legation in Kingston to be commenting or reacting to every prime ministerial statement. I'm sure that diplomats speak with one tongue and other bureaucrats handle the matter in another way. The US-Jamaica bilateral relationship has different contributors. You know, the Justice Department contributes, the State Department contributes, Commerce Department contributes, the law enforcement agencies, FBI, DEA, US Marshals, Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco and Firearms, they all contribute. And so when you talk about a bilateral relationship, it's not just one diplomat making a statement about one event. It's a whole cornucopia of US agencies that are dealing with Jamaica on a daily basis that react to situations.
And could hurt the country.
Absolutely. And so when a statement is made, you know, that something does not relate to something else, that statement can be taken in a looked at in a very narrow way, or it can be looked at in a very broad way. And we have to be very, very careful that we not accept our own, you know, as Shakespeare says, to thine own self be true. Therefore, you can never be untrue to any person. We must be very sure that we not mislead our own selves. But if, as Jamaicans, we are going to be truthful about what is happening, then we need to be truthful to ourselves about what is going on in Tivoli Gardens, what is going on with Dudus Coke, why the government is reacting to Dudus Coke in the way that they're reacting, and whether or not we as Jamaicans want to continue to get shot by illegal firearms to the point where you have a report that comes out that we have the highest murder rate in the world.
Let me come up.
More people are killed in Afghanistan and in Iraq than in Jamaica on a daily basis. Yes. So there has to be a reason for that.
Let me ask you this, Professor Rowe. There are those who say that the Prime Minister has